So the Road to PS5 presentation just wrapped up a few minutes ago, and it was informative, it was interesting, it was also an absolute snooze fest and a huge missed opportunity. This was not intended to be a big, flashy E3 style reveal and presentation. It was never intended to be that. This is basically just what was going to be happening at GDC, which was then canceled. So this was a deep tech dive geared towards people at a game developers conference. That's what this was. But at the same time, with the amount of hype surrounding this next generation, with so many people being a real captive audience, with so many people stuck at home with different either quarantining or social distancing situations, with there being so little known about the PlayStation 5 definitively compared to now, especially the Xbox after their presentation, this was a huge missed opportunity to really gain some momentum and some excitement. And while I appreciated the deep dive into the tech, and I was fascinated by a discussion about the SSD, and definitely very interested in what they're talking about with sound, that's something that's really never been in the forefront of developing a console. It's always more about the visual presentation as each generation moves forward. It's pretty fascinating, and while I appreciate that, it's important to the gaming experience overall, they really should have done something to hit a wider audience. And I still can't believe that they went through that presentation, and it's even a tech presentation, a deep dive into what's in the machine, to not show finally what the PlayStation 5 is going to look like, to not have a good look at a controller. I can't believe that in this deep tech dive, and with so many people tuning into this event, we didn't actually see the system. That was a huge missed opportunity, and again, it really was. It felt more like a long lecture, and it was, it was interesting, but at the same time, this was definitely a bit of a snooze fest. It was, really just not what it should have been. And at the same time, there were a few disappointing things revealed as well. They talked a little bit, very briefly, about backwards compatibility. And again, there's still some details that probably haven't been quite revealed, but I was a little dismayed by what was said. They showed backwards compatibility, and we're talking about making sure at least the top 100, as far as most played PS4 games, would be playable, hopefully at launch, with the ability to use some of the PlayStation 5's features to enhance them. Much shorter, practically non-existent load times and those type of things. But the way that was phrased, that makes me feel like out of the gate, not all PS4 games are going to be compatible right off the bat. You're going to have to wait more, I believe, probably, for updates or patches individually on a game-by-game basis as the PlayStation 5 lifespan moves on. So that's a little disappointing that it's not a guarantee that all your PS4 games are going to work right out of the gate, if ever. And there was no mention of compatibility beyond the PlayStation 4 at all, not even really hinted at. So that's one of the things that I was really looking forward to learn about, was compatibility with older PlayStation consoles. And at this point, it could be a surprise later down the road, but at this point I feel like it's not going to be happening, at least as far as just putting your disc in and playing it for older consoles, and might not even work with all PS4 games even. So that was a big selling point for me as a possibility for the PlayStation 5. So that's pretty disappointing. And again, I get the original target audience for this presentation is very different than the way you would present at a E3 type event, and we're going to get that down the road for sure. But I think after the presentation that Microsoft had, that was something that was still a deep dive into the tech, not quite this detailed, but it was presented at least in a way that was more captivating, more interesting, and more informative to a general audience. This was just, I think, a real misstep for Sony, and I could see a lot of negativity is probably going to come out of this event. So that was a little bit of a disappointing dud of a presentation, but there's still a Nintendo Direct to look forward to, and I'm still saying I still think it's going to be happening next week, either 26th or 27th, especially after the Indie Direct that they had. I think we are going to see that by the end of next week, and yeah, that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most.